watch someone just command a room? Like they just bend things their way and you think, how? How do they do that? Is it just luck, charisma, or maybe something else?
Hmm.
Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through, well, a whole bunch of sources to bring the core insights straight to you.
And today, yeah, we're diving into the whole dynamic of power. We'll be looking at strategies, for gaining influence, keeping it. We're drawing from history and also those, let's say, debated principles in the 48 Laws of Power, plus some other stuff.
Right. The goal isn't just a book report.
No, definitely not. It's about getting under the surface, seeing the mechanisms.
Exactly. Our mission here is not just telling you what the sources say, but maybe helping you see why these ideas might stick, how they maybe show up in the world. We're hunting for those surprising bits, the useful ideas.
Cutting through the noise.
Yeah. So this whole fascinating, maybe sometimes uncomfortable area of power, where do we even start?
Okay, let's begin with impact. Getting noticed. Law 6 says something pretty direct. Everything is judged by its appearance. What is unseen counts for nothing.
Wow. Okay. So appearance is everything.
Well, according to this law, yeah. It emphasizes how you present yourself, your work. It's critical.
But it's more than just, like, dressing sharp, right? The law says you need to stand out, be conspicuous at all cost. It even mentions being larger, more colorful, more mysterious than everyone else. Sounds a bit theatrical.
It does lean that way. It's about creating a buzz, making sure people are looking at you, talking about you.
But how do you even do that now? Everything feels like a spectacle already. How do you actually cut through?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? History gives us some pointers. Take P.T. Barnum. His early days, they weren't just about showing off odd things.
Right.
He was generating buzz, even using controversy, like with that whole Reverend Avery thing. It suggests getting people talking, even if it's not all positive initially, is a powerful first move.
So staying top of mind, even if it's kind of weird reasons. And Barnum didn't just rely on scandal, did he? He had those almost staged things, like the beggar with the bricks outside the museum.
Exactly. Labeled bricks, leading people on a pointless walk. It seems absurd.
Totally absurd.
But it worked. It got people curious, talking. The underlying thing seems to be tapping into our curiosity, making us remember what's unusual.
Okay.
And you see it with court artists, too. They weren't just skilled. They often had these personas, behaved in ways that made them stand out. Solomon Cowes, known for being eccentric, that probably helped him get noticed.
Huh. So it's like competence isn't enough. There's a strategy to how you show up just to get your foot in the door.
Seems to be the idea here, yeah, for that initial traction.
Okay, so you've got their attention. Then what? How do you actually, get things moving? Can't all be smoke and mirrors.
Absolutely not. And that brings us to Law 7, which is all about execution. Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit.
Whoa, okay. Getting others to do the work delegation makes sense, saves time. But the second part, always take the credit. That feels,
A bit tricky.
yeah, a bit tricky, especially in teams. How does that even work without making everyone hate you?
That's a really fair point.
Mm-hmm.
And look, this source material often plays in a space where power dynamics kind of trump fairness, But purely strategically, it's about making sure you are seen as the one driving success.
Ah, perception again.
Exactly. Think about Kissinger and Nixon's China visit. Kissinger did a ton of the groundwork, the heavy lifting diplomatically.
Right, I remember reading about that.
But who got the big public win? Nixon. It massively boosted his image as a leader.
So the narrative was shaped. Kissinger worked, Nixon got the glory. It's about controlling who looks like they're in charge. Okay. But what about when being too visible is bad? Law 16 seems to go the other way.
It does. A nice counterpoint. Use absence to increase respect and honor, the idea. Too much circulation makes the price go down.
Like overexposure.
Kind of. If you're always around, always predictable, your value might drop. Stepping back strategically after you're established can actually make people want you more, respect you more.
Creating mystique. If you're not always there, people wonder. Maybe they even inflate your importance a bit. Seems counterintuitive now, with everyone online 24/7.
Totally. But the law stresses knowing when to leave, creating value through scarcity. Think of Alcibiades.
The Athenian general.
Yeah, he defected to Sparta, then Persia, lots of betrayal. But weirdly, it just added to his legend, made his eventual return to Athens a huge deal. His absence fueled the intrigue.
So sometimes pulling back is the power move. Let people wonder, build anticipation. Tricky balance, though, right? Between strategic absence and just disappearing.
Very tricky. And that sort of plays into another idea about managing expectations. Law 17.
Which is
Keep others in suspended terror. Cultivate an air of unpredictability.
suspended terror. Sounds intense.
It's dramatic language, sure. But the logic is humans crave familiarity, patterns. If you deliberately act unpredictably, you keep people off balance. They waste energy trying to figure you out.
So you maintain control because they can't guess your next move, can't plan against you?
That's the theory.
But doesn't that just make people distrust you? Or think you're, well, unstable?
Oh, absolutely a risk.
Yeah.
Huge risk. Context is everything. But look at Stonewall Jackson, the U.S. Civil War.
Yeah.
His military moves often seemed totally illogical.
Right.
And that confused the Union Army, caused delays, messed up their plans, even when he was outnumbered. The unpredictability was the weapon.
Okay, so in specific, like strategic fights, calculated unpredictability can be a tool. Disrupts the opponent. Got it. Let's shift gears slightly. Talk about timing. Law 33.
Yes, master the art of timing. This one warns against looking rushed. Hurrying apparently betrays a lack of control.
Really?
Yeah, the ideal is to seem patient, like you know things will eventually go your way.
That's tough today. Everything's about immediate action. Seize the moment. Why is patience seen as powerful here?
It projects confidence,
Mm-hmm.
foresight maybe. The text says, become a detective of the right moment. Understand the trends. Know when to wait,
Okay.
when the time isn't right. And then know when to strike decisively when things align. It's about recognizing the moment, not just forcing it.
So not just sitting back, but strategic waiting. Like a predator, kind of. Wait, conserve energy, then bam, maximum impact. Okay. That connects to Law 36, which has a weird way of dealing with things you can't control.
Probably.
Just ignore them.
Basically, yeah. Disdain things you cannot have. Ignoring them is the best revenge. This gets into the psychology. It argues that getting angry, emotional, is strategically bad
How so?
because you lose control.
Mm.
By staying calm, indifferent, especially to things you can't get or insults you can't easily fight back against, you actually gain a kind of power.
Denying them the satisfaction. If they can't push your buttons, they lose leverage over you. Is that it?
Pretty much. Find their sensitive spot, their vanity, rattle them while you stay cool. Talleyrand is the classic example. Napoleon apparently ripped into him, accused him of treason.
Wow.
And Talleyrand just stood there, calm as anything, didn't react. That composure probably unnerved Napoleon more than any angry defense would have.
It's like emotional judo. Use their own force against them by just not engaging.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, let's talk free stuff. Everyone loves free stuff, right? Law 40 says. Maybe not.
Right. Despise the free lunch. The warning here is that free offers are dangerous. Usually a trick, or there's a hidden obligation attached.
So nothing's truly free.
That's the gist. The law suggests paying your own way keeps you independent.
Yeah.
Avoids manipulation, owing people favors, guilt trips.
Makes sense. If you pay, you control the terms. You don't owe anyone anything.
Exactly. What has worth is worth paying for. Sometimes paying full price, even if it seems steep, saves you trouble later. Now, the law also mentions generosity can show power, but the main warning is about the strings attached to free things.
Like those cons, right? The yellow kid example, baiting people with easy money, exploiting that desire for a free lunch.
Precisely. It taps into greed and makes people vulnerable.
Good reminder. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Okay, last one for this dive. Law 41. Following a legend. Stepping into a great man's shoes.
Yeah, avoid stepping into a great man's shoes. This is about legacy. The observation is simple. What comes first often seems better, more original.
Oh, like the original movie is always better than the sequel.
Kind of like that, yeah. If you inherit a big role or follow someone famous, you're constantly compared. And you often need to do twice as much just to seem half as good.
Sounds like you're set up to fail. How do you beat that?
The advice is, don't try to be them. Establish your own name. Change course. The text even uses strong language like metaphorically slaying the overbearing father, disparaging the old legacy to make room for your own.
Ooh, harsh.
It is. But look at Louis XI in France. He followed Louis XIV, the Sun King. Huge shadow. And Louis V struggled. His reign is often seen as decline. Hard to live up to that.
So, inheriting power isn't the finish line. You have to actively make it your own, create a whole new story, maybe even by deliberately breaking from the past.
That seems to be the strategy. Psychologically, start from scratch. Don't let the past define you, even if it was glorious.
Wow. Okay, this has been a lot to think about. We've gone from just getting noticed to taking credit, using absence, being unpredictable, timing, ignoring things, avoiding freebies, and handling legacy. Quite the range.
It really is. And what's interesting is how they can seem contradictory alike, be conspicuous, but also use absence.
Right.
But maybe they work together.
Right.
Calculated attention balanced with strategic withdrawal, patient sitting up, decisive action. It's complex.
These aren't just random rules, though. They're presented as observations on how people, well, interact, how influence works, drawn from history, from different sources.
Understanding those undercurrents.
Exactly. And that really brings it back to you listening. As we've unpacked these sometimes stark ideas about power, think about where you've seen these dynamics.
In your own life, work,
Yeah.
watching the world.
Yeah. What subtle moves, or maybe not so subtle ones, are shaping things around you? Maybe reflecting on these laws gives you a different lens to see it all through, something to chew on.